Let's unbox the Realme X2 Pro, the first proper flagship phone from Realme. Let's see what we get. Realme X2 Pro, flagship killer. It's hard to call it anything else. 90Hz display, 50-watt fast charging, 64 megapixel quad camera. Let's get it open. So on the Realme X2 Pro box, you just get the Realme branding on the sides and not much else. It looks very similar to all the other types of boxes you get from Realme. Inside you get the pouch, which houses a jelly type case and also all the documents for the phone. Not the biggest fan of a jelly case, but it is in there nonetheless. You can see that huge cutout for the camera, but we'll get onto that later. Inside the jelly case, it is ridged, so your phone isn't going anywhere. Then moving on, we get the phone, and under the phone, you get the charging brick and the SIM ejector tool and the charging cable. The charging brick is quite big. It's on the bigger side, but it is capable of 50-watt fast charging. You get the charger in the box. I got this really good looking blue color. There is also a white color, which I really like the look of. Realme also have the Dasherban. I don't know the English, but there are some slightly different colors and designs, and they come with more storage options and they're more expensive overall. I think Realme have gone for subtlety with the design. There's nothing too crazy. There's not a kaleidoscope of colors. Obviously, the biggest change with the design here is the Realme logo, which is on the right-hand side of the camera unit. Never ever seen that before from any brand. But hey, I actually kind of like it. They could have gone for the logo down at the bottom, but they took a step there, and we'll see if they keep that design going forward. The camera unit is placed in the center, which I think is a good design. At the bottom, you get the headphone jack, USB-C, and one of the stereo speakers. At the top is the other half of that pair, and it is big. On the left-hand side, you get these two power buttons and nothing else. On the right-hand side, you get the power button. On the blue color, you get that nice gold accent. The design overall does remind me very much of the Reno Ace from Oppo, which has been released recently, but it has some unique features that make it unique. The screen is 6.5 inches, but it has a 20:9 aspect ratio. That's slightly longer than most phones, and you do feel it, although it's not a big difference. The 90Hz refresh rate screen on a phone this cheap is just incredible. I'm honestly not sure how Realme managed to fit all of these specs in a phone that costs this much. For me, with this release, 90Hz is the new normal, and I now expect 90Hz on every phone going forward. You do get a notch at the top. It is not a bezel-less display, but it is definitely on the smaller side. It's one of the smallest notches that I have seen, but it is not a bezel-less display. However, having a notch means that you do get a thinner phone overall and better water resistance. You get a 64 megapixel main camera, an ultra wide camera, a 2x telephoto camera, and a portrait lens. That's a fancy name for a depth sensor, but you do get macro mode from the ultra wide sensor. Photos are very reminiscent of other Oppo phones, although Realme is not Oppo. It's hard to say that these photos really remind me of anything else. This is a proper quad camera. Not just made up of depth sensors and macro sensors. You get the ultra wide, the main, and a telephoto. I'm recording on the ultra wide camera right now just to give a little bit more space so you can see me and it's not too zoomed in. On the ultra wide, you can do 1080p up to 60 frames a second. But on the main camera, you can shoot in 4K up to 60 frames a second. Go and check out my Twitter and my Instagram for more photos from this phone. And I will review the camera in way more detail in a video coming up, so subscribe if you want to see that. An under-screen fingerprint sensor is standard these days. This one is very quick and accurate. Had absolutely no problems with it. It does have Face ID too, which is going to be very fast because there's no pop-up. From what I've heard, you guys really like the specs of this phone, but some people say they don't like Color OS. I personally do like Color OS because the very first phone that I had when I came to China was an Oppo, and I guess I just have a special liking for the very first Chinese phone that I ever had. You can play PUBG in high frame rate, of course, taking advantage of that 90Hz display. Not only that, but the stereo speakers, which are a great feature of this phone, are very loud and make for a really good gaming experience too. think Realme have done a really good job with this phone for a flagship killer. Not a perfect phone by any stretch. No phone is perfect. There are of course some downsides, but the hardware and the specs of this phone really are great, and they put it for a great price too. Subscribe for all the latest unboxings and hands-on with the latest tech. That's it for now, but I'll see you in the next one.